welcome to Astonishing Organisms, where we discuss some of the most interesting studies done on organisms' behavior. We discuss a variety of different behaviors ranging from fainting goats, to elephants mourning their dead, to giraffes drinking each other's pee, and UV light glowing platypuses, and so much more. You'll never be bored listening to Astonishing Organisms. I'm your host, Claire, and let's get started. In today's episode, we're talking about animal cognition, and this encompasses the mental capacities of non-human animals. As animal intelligence becomes more and more studied, scientists are finding that animals are much more intelligent than we previously thought. Today we'll be focusing on bird cognition, and the scientists that introduced to the world the idea of bird intelligence. We'll also focus on a variety of tests that scientists have developed to help us understand and assess bird intelligence, skills, and cognition over the last several years. We must first discuss the premier scientists who pioneered the change in the way we view our feathered friends. That, of course, would be Irene Pepperberg from Harvard University, who informed the world that birds are smart. She has written many scholarly articles as well as several trade books about her 30-plus years with the world-famous Alex, the African gray parrot who has scientifically proven that at least one parrot could speak meaningfully. Her mission was to obtain more respect and better treatment for birds. And as with other groundbreaking scientists, it wasn't an easy road for her, and her work deserves acknowledgement whenever bird breeds are discussed. Check out her book, Alex and Me, linked in the show notes. Dr. Pepperberg has inspired countless other scientists to explore the idea of bird cognition, which has enlightened the world's view of these fascinating organisms. So how do researchers suss out avian smarts? They have a whole battery of bird-specific tests that assess the baseline braininess of species as a whole and to show the range of avian intelligence between species and individuals. Because just like humans, some individual birds are brighter than others. The first of these tests that we're going to talk about is called the spoiled food test, which assesses an understanding of time and memory. In 1998, researchers in a lab gave scrub jays perishable wax worms, which is one of their favorite foods. These birds hid them to eat later, which was a common practice among corvids. Tracking the birds revealed that the jays stopped retrieving the worms after about 5 days, which is typically the time that these worms started to decay. This concludes that birds understand the passage of time. The next test is called the string test, which assesses problem solving. A bird is presented with 2 strings, but one is visibly connected to a piece of food. The idea is that the bird will pull the string that will bring it its reward. If the animal successfully chooses the right string more often than it chooses the wrong one in a series of trial, it shows that the bird can solve problems in its head, not just through trial and error. And many birds have passed this test, including parrots, ravens, turkey vultures, and crows. In a study in 2013, researchers found that pigeons could successfully pull the right string when the experiment was simulated on a touchscreen, which was a new method that helps researchers use the same test on species whose beak or feet would prevent them from physically pulling that string. Other species, such as chimpanzees and human children, have also successfully completed the test, although man's best friend, a dog, cannot. This next test assesses social intelligence and visual abilities. It's called the family ties test. Researchers observed Siberian jays around a bird feeder, noting which acted aggressively, and also tested the bird's genetic makeup. When researchers looked at the genetic analysis and aggressive behavior, they discovered that jays were less friendly toward birds that weren't closely related to them. How exactly they identified their kin is unknown, but they may be able to tell by their physical appearance. The researchers hypothesized that jays, which live and work cooperatively, wanted to keep outsiders away, and so as to limit competition from birds outside their gene pool, they acted aggressively towards those they were not related to. The box test assesses problem solving and comparative intelligence. Researchers placed food inside a clear box that had several different access points. The smarter the animal, the faster it would figure out how to get to the food. In one experiment, chickadees that lived at higher altitudes completed the task much more quickly than those that lived at lower elevations. This finding could indicate the different and difficult survival conditions led to better problem-solving skills. In another trial, researchers used the box test to compare the manner and speed with which crows and parrots explored their surroundings. The different methods the species employed to complete the same task helped researchers conclude that, though their minds work differently, the two species probably have similar cognition, which is something that's been difficult to assess in the past. To assess tempo sensitivity, scientists use a rhythm test. In 2008, a cockatoo named Snowball took the internet by storm when his owners posted several videos of him dancing to popular songs, apparently keeping the rhythm. Scientists saw this video and put him to test. They played a number of different songs and watched to see if the speed of the bird's movement changed accordingly, and too often to be pure chance. Snowball was a good dancer, probably as good as a human 4-year-old. His moves were the first evidence that birds have tempo sensitivity, and added to the evidence that animals, including us, have a natural musical inclination. This next test is called Aesop's Fable Test, which assesses tool use and problem solving. This test comes from an ancient Greek fable where a crow quenches its thirst by dropping small stones into a pitcher of water until it is easily accessible at the top of the vessel. In 2014, researchers set up a similar scenario where they gave birds a water-filled tube with floating food just out of reach and sinkable objects. The crows consistently put objects into the tube until the treats were high enough to munch. Scientists have concluded similar tests on rooks and jays and even on children. The matching memory test sounds exactly like a game that children would play. In the first, simplest phase of the 2014 experiment, crows were shown 3 cards, each with a color or a shape on it. The middle card matched one of the 2 cards on either side, both of which were at the top of a small cup. A reward was placed in the cup with the matching card. The 2 crows quickly became very skilled at locating the reward by matching. When the researchers changed the task, none of the cards matched, but had 2 similar qualities. For example, a middle card might have 2 similarly sized squares, which matched 2 similarly sized circles on another card. To the researchers' surprise, crows were able to complete this more complicated task with ease, without even training. They used the skills they'd gained in the first experiment to master the second. Apes and monkeys had aced similar tests in the past and had proven to scientists that they have analogical reasoning, which is the ability to transfer skills learned in one task to another. But this crow study marked the first time an animal other than a mammal was shown to have analogical reasoning. The final test we'll discuss on this episode is called Facial Recognition Test, which assesses visual abilities, rapid learning, and long-term memory. Researchers at the University of Washington had a feeling that the crows on campus, some of which were occasionally temporarily brought into the lab, could recognize them. To see if the birds truly did remember human faces, in 2010 the researchers put on masks and then behaved in ways that were either dangerous or neutral. Those that were dangerous captured and banded crows, and those that were neutral did nothing. They caught and released 5 groups of up to 15 crows around Seattle. For the next 3 years, the crows scolded and mobbed anyone wearing the dangerous masks, even if it was on a different person or if the wearer was in a large crowd. This study revealed that a single negative interaction is all that it takes for a crow to form a grudge. What's more, the antagonized birds recruited other crows to scold and offend humans, though the researchers aren't quite sure how they did that. The study revealed that a single negative interaction is all that it takes for a crow to form a grudge. What's more, the antagonized birds recruited other crows to scold the offending humans, though the researchers aren't quite sure how that happened and how they did that. Even though scientists have learned a lot about bird cognition and have developed creative ways to test it, there are also some aspects of bird intelligence that are just really hard to grasp, let alone study. However, scientists have made really impressive progress in bird cognition in the last decade alone. Technological advances have certainly helped. These new sorts of tests provide us with another view into bird intelligence. I hope you enjoyed learning about bird cognition and how researchers are able to test bird intelligence. It was certainly fascinating to me. If any of these tests really piqued your interest, check out the videos linked in the show notes. As always, stay weird, and thanks for listening to Astonishing Organisms. We'll see you next time!